Here you go. Welcome, everyone. The General Laws Subcommittee number 1 shall come to order. Yep. And, all right, George, can you open up the roll? Everybody will take the roll call. All right, thank you. We have a quorum is present. All right, the first thing I want to do is take up a couple of things which will help us save a little bit of time. Yep, we want to, at the request of the patron, we want to strike
1829.
Yeah, HB 1829, Delegate Torrance. All right, the motion is to strike the bill.
Also move.
A second. Open up the rolls. Okay. Okay, House Bill 1829 is stricken. We also have a couple of requests to lay on the table. One was from Delegate Hope, which was House Bill 1902. His request was to lay bill on table. We have a motion.
So move.
Second. All right, we have a motion to lay House Bill 1902 on the table. The members shall vote. Okay, that bill's laid on the table by a vote of 8-0. Okay, first up, I want to get to get that in a minute. While we're, Delegate Durant.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Do you have a substitute? It should be available online. Staff does have copies, paper copies, if any members of the committee would like to.
Thank you. We have the substitute.
I can't hear you. Okay.
I do not have it on my machine here. Let's see. There we go. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, it simply removes the clause and makes it a Section 1.
Okay, so you basically turned the bill as a Section 1 bill now, and all right. Can we have a substitute before us? Want to adopt the substitute?
So move.
Have a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, all opposed? All right, the substitute's before us. Delegate Durant.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This legislation provides for the reimbursement of penalties, fines, fees, or interest paid by individuals or businesses as a result of violating the Commonwealth's COVID-19 guidelines. This bill would codify the Governor's Executive Order 23 and proposed budget language directing the review of all pandemic-related penalties and providing for reimbursement to impacted individuals, businesses, and nonprofits. It directs the state agencies to report to the Secretary of Finance the total fees and fines and interest imposed, including withdrawal, suspension, or cancellation of licenses or certifications resulting from that violation. As we know, during the pandemic, businesses were prohibited from allowing entry and service onto their premises, putting people's livelihoods at risk. Individuals were prohibited from working and carrying out important daily activities, and Virginians lost their jobs and their businesses. They were shuttered. So as of December 2022, nearly 3 years after the start of the pandemic, many COVID-related fines, fees, and other penalties remain in effect. So this bill directly addresses that issue, and I'm happy to answer your questions. Hope the committee to pass this bill.
We have the members have questions for the patron. I see Delegate Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question is: so, does this apply if, say, a restaurant remained open during the COVID closures, and then they were given some kind of like penalty, then they would get reimbursed for that? Does that apply to something like that?
I made phone a friend on that one because it's my understanding that the Secretary of Finance has been directed to review them. So I may bring someone up to testify on the specifics if that, how all of them are applied. They are reviewing every single one of them, so. I do have a deputy, there we are.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, John Markowitz, Deputy Secretary of Finance. We are still reviewing the information. It was just submitted 2 weeks ago. So this is setting forth that process to make the reviews that would look at cases like that and others.
Follow up, Mr. Chair.
Delegate Adams.
But would that be included in one of the potential like reimbursements? Would that be an example?
That would be an eligible category included in this language. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Does any of the members have any other questions for the patron?
It's also my understanding, Mr. Chair, if you don't mind me speaking to it,
No,
that there are students that we've have been affected by this, some college students. So it's been interesting to see the information that's been coming in the last couple of weeks.
All right, thank you. Are there any folks in the audience that care to speak in favor of the bill? Is there any? Hello, yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, John Markowitz, Deputy Secretary of Finance. The administration supports this bill, and thank you to Delegate Durant for carrying it.
Thank you. Is there any people that would wish to speak in opposition to the bill? All right, Delegate Durant, you have the last word.
Again, Mr. Chair, just thank you very much for this opportunity to present this. As we learn more information about those who have been impacted, particularly in some of the interesting instances with students and those who are with their businesses, I do feel like this is an important move that we can make on behalf of the Commonwealth to address some of those issues where people were really negatively impacted financially. So hope it is will the committee to pass this bill.
All right, thank you. The chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move we report House Bill 2461.
Secretary. All right. With the substitute? Report with the substitute? Yeah. All right, the motion to report with the substitute. We'll open up the voting machine. Members will cast their vote. And the bill reports with the substitute by a vote of 5-2. 5-3. Let's see what we got next here. We got Moses here. Let me get March. Delegate March. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Which bill would you like to take? 1401?
Yep, you pick your poison.
We'll go with 1401 first.
Okay.
Okay, 1401 repeals the Code of Virginia relating to the Community Policing Act. This bill is an effort to solve an unfunded mandate that's affecting my district and most districts and probably most rural counties and towns. This bill was a request by law enforcement. The original bill forces our law enforcement to become data entry personnel for the Commonwealth. These forms are extensive and require so much time and man-hours. When the state decided to adopt this policy, it trickled down to the localities as an unfunded mandate. Think about it. All of our officers, our deputies' time, when they make a stop, they have to collect demographic, socioeconomic data. Then all that data from all those stops has to be compiled each month and sent to a database. Localities have had to staff entire positions to keep up with this monumental addition of paperwork. In my opinion, this is another one of those pieces of legislation with good intentions that was pushed through and has had a ripple effect on all of us in rural areas. I'd like to ask that you consider repealing this unfunded mandate on our sheriff's departments and police departments and help rural Virginia.
All right, thank you. Does any of the members have a question for the patron? Okay, I will ask if the folks in the audience to speak in support of the bill. Yeah, no, we have some folks in the remote. George, Regina, can you?
Yes, Mr. Chair, for In favor of the bill, we have Shannon Gold.
Welcome, Ms. Goad.
Ms. Gold, could you unmute and turn your camera on, please?
Yep, click it.
Technology, great.
Sorry, it's Shannon Goad, Mr. Goad, I'm sorry.
Welcome.
I'm the police chief here in Hillsville. Just to let you know a little bit about Hillsville, we're approximately 1 hour west of Martinsville on US 58. We have a population of 2,900 people, and our demographics are over 96% white, 3% Hispanic, and less than 1% other races. I am in support of Ms. March, her bill, House Bill 1401. Even though a goal of the Community Policing Data Collection Act is to stop police officers' bias-based profiling, the execution of its reporting requirements creates a lot of work for each law enforcement agency in Virginia. Some data elements in the required data fields are subjective based upon each officer's interpretation of those elements, creating situations where the reporting statistics may not be 100% accurate. Many data elements are already present on the written Virginia Uniform Summons, and the information from those elements can be obtained from the Virginia Court System website and from Virginia Department of Motor Vehicles. For jurisdictions that have major highways passing through their borders, these jurisdictions have a higher probability that their collected data does not reflect their community. For example, the town of Hillsville has 4 major highway systems and 1 interstate that brings travelers into 9 square miles. However, most of these travelers are not from Hillsville, but are just traveling through Hillsville to some other location. When looking at our collection data, 80 to 90% of traffic summons issued by Hillsville Police Department are given to travelers on Interstate 77, which causes our collected data to be skewed. This is not a reflection of the town's population and the Hillsville community. The time requirements to enter all the required data is several hours per week, just for our small department. And this time requirement is much greater for larger jurisdictions. As there is no state funding for these large amounts of data entry, each jurisdiction is responsible to cover all costs associated with the data collection. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Chief Goad. Next up, we have Mr. Sheriff Kevin Kemp.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Well, thank you for this opportunity. And I am also in the same locality area as Chief Goad. I'm actually the sheriff of Carroll County, and Hillsville is the county seat. Actually, he took a lot of the words I was already going to kind of hit on. I can just go ahead and say that I agree totally with what Chief Goad had to say. I have a sheriff's office of approximately 50 total with part-time employees. We have a population in Carroll County of about 29,100, and we got 475 square miles. I got 20 patrol officers. We are funded through the compensation board, and localities do not have the actual extra funding for these positions, and the extra load it is put up on our localities. It's been a struggle to try to get this new mandate covered from the very beginning. A lot of extra load on our workforce. We've actually had to put more work on our people without any extra funding, no extra money for pay raises, and it's been a struggle to get through some of those mandates. It's been put on by this new law, and I'm actually in favor of the House Bill 1401 that Ms. March has presented.
All right, thank you. Thanks, Sheriff. Appreciate your testimony. Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we have Calandra Bechtold.
Hi there. Thank you
Hey,
for
welcome.
having me. Thank you. I wholeheartedly support House Bill 1401. I'm here in Floyd County, just outside of Carroll County. We're neighbors. And I know that this is a great burden for our sheriff's deputies. We've actually had to hire an additional person to do the data entry to put the deputies back out on patrol. As a citizen, this bill also is very concerning because of the amount of additional work and time that's put on the law enforcement officers. I would hate for anybody to have a second thought of stopping and helping a citizen, giving any time, knowing that each encounter needs this data collected and entered. We need to really free up our law enforcement to do patrol, help our citizens do what's right for the community. And as an unfunded mandate, our law enforcement is having to choose between petrol and patrol, and ending this unfunded mandate would really help us all out. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your testimony. I believe we have one more on this bill.
Yes,
Against?
Mr. Chair. In opposition, we have Dominique Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is Dominique Martin with New Virginia Majority. I'm opposed to this bill. I think if this is an issue where this locality cannot fulfill the requirements, I would rather see some type of action that would help promote the locality's ability to kind of fulfill these requirements. The data collection aspect of the Community Policing Act is absolutely essential so that we can get a firm grip on exactly what is happening with our law enforcement. It's a transparency and accountability measure. I would also question why the parts of the bill that kind of cross out the references to the definition of bias-based policing are in the bill, unless there's a substitute that I haven't been familiar with. I just would question why that is in there. Overall, the bias-based policing aspects of these bills and the data collection aspects are nationally recommended best practices for law enforcement, and so I think that these requirements go a long way in trying to increase the relationships between the community and the police. And so I would hope that we would oppose this bill and find a better way to correct the problem that is facing that locality that the delegate, a patron, is representing. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your testimony. Thank you, sir. Are there any members of the audience who would like to speak in opposition to the bill?
Mr. Chair, members of the subcommittee, Christian Martinez, I'm the advocacy specialist at CASA. CASA is opposed to HB 1401. The Community Policing Act that was passed back in 2020, it was a law that was passed with bipartisan effort. This bill today that would repeal the Community Policing Act, that under current law would prohibit law enforcement officers and state police officers from engaging in bias-based profiling in the performance of their official duties. Our members in Prince William County and Fairfax County, they believe this is very concerning for them and their families if this law is repealed. In this repeal, it would also remove 12 positions if passed, thus defunding the police, which would lose 12 jobs in Virginia, 11 from state police, and 1 from the Department of Criminal. We ask that you please oppose this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me see. Delegate March, you have a final word?
I just ask that you consider this bill.
Thank you. Any members of the committee? It's time to make a motion.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman.
Oh. Delegate Moorfield.
Delegate March, thank you for bringing this bill. I do support it. I know this has been a tremendous burden on localities. You do see that we have appropriated funding for the Virginia State Police, and but unfortunately, we've received a letter from appropriations. In fact, I thought this bill probably should have gone to appropriations from the beginning due to the fiscal impact, not only that it has to the Commonwealth, but the localities as well. So I do know that we have a letter to report and refer that to appropriations. But again, thank you for bringing this.
Thank you.
No, we're still meeting, and we received a letter. We have one meeting left.
We have a motion to report and refer. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Motion's been seconded, properly made. Members will cast their votes. Okay. Delegate Jenkins. All right, the bill, report and refer by vote is 6-0. And Delegate March, I believe you have another bill for us.
Thank you. Okay, so we've made several amendments to this next bill, including dividing the law enforcement fund with a firefighter fund for the newly collected tax fund. So please accept the amendments.
The motion, do we have a second? We need a second to adopt the
Second.
amendments, all right. Motion made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, the amendments are before us.
Okay, HB 1813 is a bill to amend the Code of Virginia relating to fireworks by adding in sales use and taxation. This bill expands the type of fireworks that can be purchased by the public and creates a law enforcement firefighter fund. In Southwest Virginia, everybody I know drives to Tennessee, West Virginia, and South Carolina to buy the good fireworks. I'm forever being asked, Marie, why can't we buy the good fireworks in Virginia? If folks are already bringing them back to our state, then our firefighters and rescue are already having to field any firework accidents. The only difference is we, in Virginia, are not reaping the tax benefit. Even our localities are purchasing their fireworks outside of Virginia for their firework displays. There are millions of dollars of tax money that would benefit our state if only we would keep our citizens buying the good fireworks right here. Pennsylvania and West Virginia currently charge a 12% excise tax on their fireworks. The definition of consumer fireworks parallels what is allowed currently in Tennessee in my bill. I ask that you help support the creation of a new law enforcement firefighter fund and help Virginia bring back the good fireworks so our citizens can stay local and support our Virginia economy. Thank you.
Thank you. Does any of the members have a question for the patron? Anybody from the audience like to speak in favor of House Bill 1813? Is anybody in opposition to House Bill 1813? Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Bonnie Atwood from David Bailey Associates, and I represent two fire organizations, the Virginia Fire Prevention Association and the Virginia State Firefighters Association. And actually, they work with 9 others who are also opposed to this bill, even though the fireworks are referred to as good fireworks. We see them as great danger, regardless of where you buy them. I'm going to add that I'm the mother of a child with autism who panics easily at loud noises. There's a name for it. Sensory over-responsivity. And I'm a past president of the Autism Society of Central Virginia. 5 autism organizations oppose the bill for the panic reasons. I've also been authorized to speak against it on behalf of the SPCA. So all of those folks ask that you oppose the bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members of the subcommittee. My name is Jeremy Bennett, representing the Virginia Association of Counties. Hate to be a wet blanket and oppose this bill, but we do have concerns over the provisions over the local authority being removed under Chapter 27-96.1. So for those reasons, unfortunately, we have to oppose the bill.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, Spencer Willett. I'm with the Department of Fire Programs, which includes the State Fire Marshal. We're responsible for 62 counties in the Commonwealth and all state-owned facilities and properties. We are very concerned about the bill for a number of reasons, including with the localities. Also, it also legalizes it in all residential areas. I'm sure many of us have seen the very urbanized areas or housing subdivisions where houses are very close to each other. Some of the fireworks that would be allowed under this new bill would be mortars that launch into the air that can cause fires for multiple homes on a street, and that would cause a pretty significant strain on resources that we've heard from some of our constituents and from fire departments across the state. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And I believe we still have one person in the queue that would like to speak in favor of House Bill 1813.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we have Greg Crowder.
Welcome, Mr. Crowder, or Mayor Crowder. Yep, here we go.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm the mayor up here in Hillsville, Virginia, and I sell fireworks in West Virginia. I have 3 stands. Just out of 3 stands, we pay in approximately $30,000 a year to the fire marshals and to the police officers in West Virginia. Right now, there's literally millions of dollars of fireworks being let off in the state of Virginia without the fire marshals being directly involved in the sales and with the rules that they might put forward. In my humble opinion, you know, they get $540 for each stand that sets up. The fire marshal teaches each stand member how to be safe, how to counsel each person. To my knowledge, in West Virginia, there has not been a fire of any sort in the last 7 years. Not only do you get that taxation, it looks like that they're bringing in, with Marie March said that, you know, you had the 18% tax, the 12% to the fire marshals. They're bringing in close to $40 to $60 million every year in revenue. And I really believe in my heart that if it's regulated, it's much safer. You know, right now they're bringing it in. They come to my stand, and I literally send $30,000 or $40,000 of fireworks back to Virginia that they come and buy. It's much more than that in Tennessee. So it's already coming in. I think it just needs to be regulated. We need to take advantage of it. And, you know, I think when I say regulated, if the fire marshals are involved and the police are involved, I think it's going to be much safer than it is right now. With that being said, it's just, to me, it's black and white. We should do it. And, you know, we need the revenue. The police needs the revenue, and we need control of it. Right now, it's totally out of control. Like I said, there's hundreds of thousands of dollars of fireworks being set off just from the southern West Virginia, in Virginia, that's not being controlled. So for me, I would love to vote yes for HB 1813.
Thank you, Mr. Crowder. Appreciate your testimony.
Thank you.
Again, I believe the chair will entertain a motion from the committee.
Mr. Chairman.
Yep. Delegate Williams.
I move that we report and refer this to appropriations.
All right, so Delegate Williams.
No motion.
It's getting late. Do we have a motion?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Chairman moves to lay this bill on the table.
All right, and is there a second?
Second.
Second, all right, the motion's been made and seconded. The members will cast their vote on the electronic voting machine. Delegate March, the bill's laid on the table by a 6-1 vote.
Thank you.
Thank you, me. All right. But I'm going to go ahead and present my bill really quick, which is House Bill 1521, dealing with the product better known as Kratom. And which I can't find here. Here we go.
Bring your bill.
Yep, it will. Just take it over there. You got it. All right. You know what House Bill 1521 seeks to do, it seeks to bring a product that now is being sold to the public and all over Commonwealth, Virginia, and in numerous places. And right now there's no standards for what actually is in kratom and what is not in kratom, and there typically is no labeling on it and things like that. And so again, with the idea about, public safety and safety for the consumer protections, we introduced this bill 1521. And so I would like to ask, again, we had some testimony a while back when this bill first came before us, but I'm going to let Michael Carlin wrap this thing up for everybody a lot quicker and a lot faster and a lot more coherent than I ever could. So, Mr. Carlin, can you help us out?
Appreciate it, Mr. Chairman. I think you might have a substitute, too. I'm not sure.
We do have a substitute. And
do we have a motion to adopt the substitute?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay. Substitute's adopted.
Well, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, thanks so much for the opportunity to be here.
Yes.
Can we report what the substitute says?
Would the clerk please report the substitute?
Mr. Chair, the substitute conforms the bill to the Senate version, and maybe Delegate Fowler can explain the specifics of his substitute.
Mr. Chairman, I may be able to help with that a little bit.
Please, Michael, you'll do a lot faster.
When this bill was introduced, it was introduced in the House in the health section of the code. What we're trying to do here is not do anything in the health section of the code, but to protect consumers. And so the substitute is in the consumer protection section of the Code of Virginia, the Virginia Consumer Protection Act. And so the point of it is it's a focus on protecting consumers, just broadly. But I will say I appreciate so much, Mr. Chairman, members of the subcommittee. I'm humbly here thanking you for your indulgence last time. At your last meeting where we were able to bring people from out of the area in to talk about this, we had Mac Haddow, a senior fellow at the American Kratom Association, which represents more than 8 million consumers of kratom. We had Jack Henningfield, who has worked a lifetime leading in the development of new treatments for neurological and psychiatric disorders. We had David Reynolds-Darien, who was formerly addicted to opioids and found kratom, which helped cure his addiction. And he subsequently is a founder of Bontanaway, a major manufacturer of kratom here in the Richmond area. And lastly, we had John Shinholzer, who co-founded the McShin Foundation, one of the best known and most effective organizations focused on combating substance use and disorders and helping people achieve and stay in recovery. All of these witnesses have found that kratom has positive benefits for the people who consume it. And Mr. Shinholzer, I thought, was particularly compelling when he testified that kratom is essential to his work in Virginia with people who are addicted to opioids. So with that preamble, I will just say that the bill adds kratom to the Virginia Consumer Protection Act. It requires manufacturers and sellers to ensure that they are using natural quality ingredients and that they label their products by listing ingredients and a recommended serving size. It also provides an age restriction for the sale of kratom. Currently, these requirements do not exist, and consumers should know from industry standards what they are buying and how to use it. And I have just a quick, and some of you have seen this. This is kind of the problem. It's hard to see from where you are, but this is liquid kratom, and it's called a K-shot. And there's no contents in here. You don't know what's in it. You don't know. There's no serving size. There's nothing about an age restriction. Anybody can buy this. You can buy it in a gas station mart. A 12-year-old could go in and buy these. So another major protection here is to get an age limit on these so that young children don't buy it. Here's where we're headed. We have this manufacturer I was telling you about in Richmond. He's doing this voluntarily. He's got everything you would want to know if you were going to buy this about what you're consuming, including serving sizes. And he's an advocate of having an age restriction so children cannot get this product. So it's all about consumer protection and getting into the law. Penalties on people who sell or manufacture this product out of accordance with the law, as we would have it in this bill. So appreciate that, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any questions from the committee? All right. Anyone here to speak in favor? And I'm sorry, Chairman Fowler, you have a comment?
Well, I believe the witness, Mr. Carlin, I think, is really identified, first of all, about Kratom, but why there's a need for some type of regulatory action and oversight over this product that is now being sold, all over the place to the public who really do not have any idea what they are consuming. And that's what we're trying to fix, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Do we have anyone here to speak in favor or against the bill? Okay, I do have one question. How many manufacturers of Kratom are there in Virginia?
Well, I know of at least one major one right here in Richmond that supplies all across the country. I can't tell you the number exactly. I don't know the answer.
And by mentioning major manufacturer, what type of quantities of Kratom are they manufacturing?
They're selling about $2 million a month across the country. This is the example I showed you of the person doing it right.
Are there any other states regulating Kratom?
There's 7 other states that have passed a law to protect consumers. There's something on the order of 13 that have bills in this year to pass a protection.
Is that manufacturer selling into Virginia markets currently?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, question?
Yes, sir. Delegate Runyon.
Of the testifier. So what is the federal government doing with Kratom?
Federal government, the FDA is not regulating Kratom. There's no federal regulation, which is the reason why the American Kratom Association, I probably should have said at the outset, our client is the American Kratom Association that represents 8 million consumers of Kratom and responsible manufacturers and sellers. The reason they want this is that the FDA has not regulated the product, and they're concerned about what is showing up in the marketplace. They believe industry standards are essential. They need to be in the law. If someone violates and manufactures something that's not in accordance with industry standards, they should be held accountable. This bill would do that.
Follow up, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
So has the, excuse me, has the FDA not addressed this yet, or they looked at it and decided that it wasn't appropriate?
Several years ago, the FDA looked at it and decided not to regulate it, and the industry's been requesting that they regulate it, but they have not yet.
Last follow-up question,
yes, sir.
Did they give a reason why they chose not to regulate? I'm curious.
I don't know the detail and the background of why they have not regulated it. I just know that the industry's been requesting it, and that they have not thus far done it. Mr. Chairman.
Okay, yes, Delegate Walker.
So another question here. In regards to regulation of this, has anybody from the Commissioner of Health, anybody reviewed or maybe do they support, oppose, or where are they here in Virginia? Or have they been approached with this?
To my knowledge, they have not been approached. I don't know if there's anybody here from the Commissioner of Health who would weigh in. This is not about, again, the product as consumed by industry standards. This is about the product that's being sold that is not under industry standards, which we're seeing more and more of, and that's where the concern is.
Yep.
Other questions?
Okay. Do we have any further questions, comments from the committee members? Chairman Fowler? Okay.
I move the report.
Okay. We have a motion to report. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second.
Substitute.
We have a substitute motion.
Or report with the substitute.
Move the report
Well, I'm
with
sorry,
the substitute.
with a substitute, please.
Second.
All right, and a second. Please vote.
I think that's it, Will.
Okay. Close the roll. The bill is reported 5-1. Chairman Fowler and the committee members, just a suggestion as this moves on to the full committee. I think, since we don't have various administrative representatives here to touch on this issue, it just a suggestion. I would ask that maybe you reach out to VDAX and some of the other various agencies that would potentially deal with this before the full committee to better educate the committee members on Kratom.
I'll see if we can find somebody here in the next hour. I know.
You got 5 minutes to 5. So you gotta make some phone calls.
I appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Sound advice. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Delegate Davis.
Yes, sir.
Tell us about your bill.
Sure. So I've got House Bill 1491. Mr. Chairman, I've got a substitute.
Okay, hold on just a second. Let me get up to speed here. Okay, we have a substitute before us. We need to adopt a substitute.
So moved.
Second.
All right, all those in favor of the substitute say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, the substitute, the bill is amended is before us.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, this bill works at the case that we've had in front of us many a times is what is a small business? This tries to get to the basis of that. There are many people who are probably will speak on this. Many of them have been asked that question, and they all have the same answer. I don't know, but it's not me. Or they're not a big business. They don't know where it starts. And that's the problem. So what we did with this is we said, Mr. Chairman, right now, you can either have 250 employees. Well, if you have over 250 employees or you do over $10 million gross line revenue, you are a small business. You just as long as you have one of those that you've met. So as long as you don't do over 10 million or don't have over 250 employees, what we tried to do is say it's going to be both. You can't violate either one. In doing that, we actually also said that we're not going to use 10 million gross revenue. We're going to use 10 million as a net profit. So basically, top line less your cost of goods sold, as defined by GAAP. And the reason why this is important, Mr. Chairman, is we're trying to basically create a level playing field for all industries, so we don't have to create all these different unique pieces. We all know that some businesses have more expensive widgets than others. So, for example, if I was selling you computers, those are a lot more expensive than me selling you pencils, but the profit margins are probably about the same. You're probably making 5-6%, right? So this lets you work on that number alone. A number of people say that they think that they're going to be outside the realm of the 10 million net, but let's keep in mind on a 10% profit margin, that means that you're at $100 million top line revenue. And if you've got $100 million top line and 250 employees, I'd argue to say that you're probably not a small business. There are people here that will disagree with me, Mr. Chairman. I'm happy for them to speak. But that's what the bill does, with the last exception that on lines 117 to 120. We did want to make sure that we did not have the problem that some other sections of code do, that if you have multiple businesses, you do not combine all that revenue together and count it together. A separate business is a separate business, Mr. Chairman, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Delegate Davis. Do any of the members have a question for the patron?
Mr. Chairman.
Delegate Wright.
Delegate Davis, did this information come from the Small Business Administration?
I worked with the Hampton Chamber on it, sir.
Okay. Is the purpose to get items that help small businesses directly to them rather than businesses that aren't really small businesses?
Yes, sir. That's exactly it. We know that there are businesses that probably are not small businesses today, but because they can qualify under one of two options, they do take away business from true small businesses.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Is there any other questions from the members? All right. So is anybody out there in the audience that like to speak in favor of the bill?
Mr. Chairman, members of the subcommittee, my name is Chris Stone, and I'm the immediate past chair for the Hampton Roads Chamber of Commerce. This is a legislative priority for the Chamber of Commerce. We represent about 1,500 businesses, which includes about 6,000 people in the Hampton Roads area, and I want to thank the delegate for bringing this bill forward. So real quickly, just a couple of statistics. So 50% of all certified small businesses employed 14 people or fewer and reported $3.2 million or less in annual gross receipts. 75% employed 38 people or fewer and reported $7.1 million or less in gross receipts. 60% of all the state's certified small businesses are actually micro businesses. So the way the definition is set up right now, it actually creates a loophole. In fact, one certified small business actually reported that they had $397 million in gross receipts. So the question is, why would a company of 250 employees with unlimited annual revenue need special consideration for public procurement? So the bill, it does not impact the certification for women, minority, or disabled veterans. This has been studied a number of times. JLARC did a study, and the bill actually follows the recommendations of the JLARC study. The Department of Small Business Supplier Diversity did a study through VCU. Again, this bill follows the recommendations in that study. So really all we're trying to do is align the definition so it cultivates real small businesses in the Commonwealth. We want to update the definition that's over 60 years old. I've traced it back in Legislative Information Services to 1960, and that's as far back as it goes. So we don't know where it came from. But it's 60 years old, and it needs to be updated. So if we want to return Virginia to the #1 business state, we really need to start to cultivate our small businesses so small businesses can turn into big businesses. And I'm sure there are people who are going to be opposed to this, but I would just ask you, if someone stands up and speaks in opposition, ask them what their annual revenue is, and you decide for yourself whether or not they're a small business or not. So I hope you support this.
Sir.
Mr. Chairman, I do have
Delegate
a
Moorfield.
question regarding the revenue. I'm familiar with a number of businesses that have fewer than 5 employees that have tens of millions of dollars in revenue. I mean, would you agree that there are industries that you would consider small business that have millions of dollars in revenue?
Again, I would ask the question, if you have 5 employees and you're making, in this one particular case, $397 million in annual revenue, I would submit to you that's not a small business.
Okay, so if you have, Mr. Chairman.
Delegate Moorfield.
So I disagree with you, because you can have, a small business with $10 million in gross revenue. You may have a small business that has $20 million in gross revenue. I think you can't treat all businesses the same. So just because a business has millions of dollars in revenue doesn't necessarily define them as a larger business.
I think it really just depends upon the number. I would say that the way that the delegate has written the bill and amended the bill, taking out goods and services, from that number, I think actually does help. But all we're trying to do is align the definition with really what small businesses are and cultivate small businesses here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Thank you.
Somebody else. Delegate Adams?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't know. I was trying to interpret what the last witness was saying. It seems like it's punitive to successful small businesses. So I don't understand that adding both the number of employees and the gross receipts. I like it better with or. So I'm not following the logic of this bill.
So I can help with that. And the other delegate's question, I agree. I've seen some small businesses that do $20 million annually. I'd argue maybe with expensive widgets, $30 million is small as well. This bill, if you're on a 10% margin, which is pretty, I think we all agree, 10% profit margins are pretty strong. You'd have to do $100 million annually to hit this threshold. $100 million and 250 employees. Maybe that number should be a little bit less, but I'd argue I'm hard-pressed to find anyone that believes 250 employees and $100 million in top line is a small business. To the delegate's question, I agree. I compare it almost to the 8A program, right? You want to help small businesses, get them off the ground, but somewhere along the line they graduate. You take up Procter & Gamble, started out as a small business. It's not a small business today. Somewhere along the line, they graduate. And the only way by letting them graduate is that only by doing that do you allow those next set of opportunities go to the small businesses behind them. Otherwise, these small businesses become big businesses and continue to take away the opportunities that the next generation of small businesses should have.
Delegate Runyon.
Thank you. A question of the patron. Yeah. And I will say that the patron and I have had this conversation several times about this, and I truly do appreciate it because I think it's an issue that has to be addressed. I'm personally not convinced that the sales contribution or gross margin way is the right way to do that. I just looked up in a grocery store, the average margin for a grocery store is between 1% and 3%. So at your $10 million, and I'm a Hokie, so my math is a little weak here, and my screen doesn't give me all the things, but I think if you make on $10 million at a 3%, that's $333 million would qualify. But if you're at 1%, that's $1 billion. Yeah. So the numbers are irrational when you move across the full range. The industry that I'm in, the sign business, the average gross margin for us is 9.8%. Okay? And so we do what we do. A different construction company will have a higher gross margin or a lower gross margin. And we may all be doing the same thing, but today, my business is in, your business is very similar, is out. And because of our margins. And then next year, I have a really good year, and I'm still in. The next year, it all falls to pieces, and I'm out. And so that's not the predictability that I think we're looking for. It'd be interesting to see what the other folks have to say. Again, I appreciate the need to address this. The economy we live in is significantly different now. Yeah. And I guess the last question, I apologize, Mr. Chairman, but is there a federal definition of small business?
Yeah, so I believe the small businesses at the federal level take it by, was it NIC code, case by case? And I appreciate the delegate's comments, too. I mean, he's right. If the smaller your margins, the more the threshold is. It can get into hundreds of millions of dollars if you're doing 1.5% margins. What I find is, what you're going to hear from people behind me or people talking in a minute, they're not going to say, "Oh my God, you're going to let people making $300,000 get in." What they're going to say is, "Oh my God, $100,000 or $100 million is not enough." So I would agree that it allows up to $300 million in some cases, but I don't have people arguing that. I got people arguing that $100 million is too much. Or is too little, and that's why this bill comes forward. But I appreciate the question.
Please come forward. Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the subcommittee. My name is Lorena Justin, and I'm a small business owner in the city of Newport News, Virginia. I also support Bill 1491 because it closes the loophole or the current state definition for a small business that allows big businesses to compete as a small business on a state contract by using the word "or" instead of "and." Thank you so much.
Thank you. Right. Welcome.
Mr. Chairman and members of the subcommittee,
My name is Gwendolyn Davis, and I am the Minority and Women Business Enterprise Administrator for Portsmouth Public Schools. I'm here this evening to represent the Honorable Lakeisha Atkinson, the Vice Chair of our school board, who also serves as the chairperson for our Women and Minority Business Advisory Committee. We provide training in Hampton Roads to over 1,200 small businesses. But we're here today to say thank you to the delegate for introducing this legislation. We've been working on this for a very long time. And I think I need to bring some statistics to bear here. Women and minority businesses in 2005, when the state did its study on disparity in the Commonwealth in terms of procurement contracted, we only received $75 million statewide for all women and minority-owned businesses in the Commonwealth. Because of this definition, big businesses were able to compete as small businesses. Well, due to some executive orders that were issued under the Northam and McCullough administration, our numbers got a lot better. $3.1 billion after the first 4 years, and it remained that out of $8 billion worth of work issued by the Commonwealth of Virginia. By closing the loophole, you give us more opportunity to work and to receive contracts from the Commonwealth of Virginia. This is the best bill we've seen in a very long time. So thank you very much, and we hope it would be the pleasure of this committee to report this bill.
Thank you. Any of the members like to, okay. The chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair.
Not that I want to help, but you ask them again.
Whoa, sorry. Do we have any people against the bill? I'm sorry.
Oh, I need to come back? Oh, good.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, Rob Bohannon, representing the Richmond area heavy contractors. And I want to be clear first and foremost, Delegate Davis has been gone through different discussions and iterations with us on this on the construction side. The challenge we've just had is, we have some members who say, yeah, that works. Others say, I'm not quite sure. I don't know, or it puts me on the cusp or something. It's just hard, when you change a definition like this, that get everybody kind of under the same tent to realize if it works for them or not. And that's the challenge that we have. Sure. Appreciate the work, understand the issue and the examples that he's brought up in construction, where it's, with tons of equipment costs and all that kind of stuff. I know Delegate Davis has done some stuff to address it. We're just can't say for 100% certainty that it will work for our members.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Eric Link here on behalf of Thundercat Technology, a 130-person service disabled veteran-owned small business in Reston. They're a technology company. They've asked me to oppose the bill, notwithstanding the fact that Delegate Davis gave us a lot of time to talk to us and was very, very gracious with his remarks. Echoing some of the comments that were shared by Delegate Runyon, this is a situation where one size does not fit all. And one of the things that I would actually point out to the committee is, with this change in the definition of small business, you will contract the number of small businesses available for public bodies in the Commonwealth to do business with, making it harder for the Commonwealth entities to meet their small business goals. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. All right, Delegate Wright.
Mr. Chairman, I just have a couple of comments to make. I ran a small business for 40 years, and I serve on the Small Business Commission. And there's been a lot of discussion on that commission on how we could better help small businesses. And this is one of the things we came up with. That's why I asked, where your idea for this legislation came from. The small businesses are in terrible need of help. And this is one way that we can help them by having this both requirements, because we don't want large businesses taking advantage of programs that are intended for small businesses. And I'm all for large businesses too. But at the proper time, I would like to make a motion, Mr. Chairman.
Now is the proper
Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry, would like to speak to the bill?
Okay.
I guess.
Delegate Runyon.
And while I appreciate very much Delegate Wright's comments on this, again, I struggle to understand how the math protects small businesses, because again, it looks to me like in certain cases you're going to eliminate folks, or you're going to add in much larger businesses to compete against what we would traditionally view as small businesses. What I would be interested in is having a conversation with the patron and see what he would think perhaps about sending this, asking the chairman of the committee to send a letter to the appropriate state agency and asking for a study, and if we've already done something, but I think the next steps. I think these are good ideas, but again, we've heard enough discussion that it's not going to work for these folks. And I don't know if we can ever get to one size fit all, but maybe we could get to where most sizes fit all. And that would be my comment, Mr. Chairman.
And you have the last word, Mr. Chairman?
Thank you, Delegate Runyon. Your final word, Delegate
Yes, sir.
Davis.
Mr. Chairman, I appreciate everyone's comments, especially Delegate Runyon's offer. There were a number of construction companies that came to see me, and I do understand that they're not sure if they fit. I mean, my comment to them was, bring me your P&L statement, and I'll tell you if you fit. I mean, it's pretty easy, right? It's top line, less cost of goods, gives you a number. And if that number's less than $10 million, you fit. If it's not, you don't. And typically in construction, I mean, that's $100 million top line is quite a bit. So I do understand the concerns of the construction company. I tried to meet their concerns. No one took me up on bringing me their P&L statement to prove that they don't fit. But I was happy to help. The number of small businesses the number of so-called small businesses will contract. The question we have to answer here is, should they contract, because are they truly still small businesses today? I do appreciate the comments. If this vote does not happen in support of the Chamber's request, I would appreciate the letter from Delegate Runyon, as suggested from Delegate Runyon suggested.
All right, thank you. We need a motion.
Mr.
Chairman,
Time you're right.
Are you prepared for a motion? I'll make a motion to report.
Mr. Chairman, substitute motion.
All right, Delegate Moorfield.
I move to lay the bill on the table and send a letter to the Virginia Department of Small Business and Supplier Diversity to further determine what are the appropriate numbers that would best benefit your definition, all of our definitions of what a small business is.
We have a motion. We need a second. Second. Motion's been properly made and seconded. Any other discussion? Members shall vote. All right, the motion to lay on the table is adopted by a vote of 4-3. Thank you, Delegate Davis.
I attempted to vote, and I didn't hit the right spot on my screen.
We're going to have a redo.
It's still up there. How do you want to vote?
I vote aye.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Delegate Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will make this easy for everybody. I have made significant noise about this bill, enough to get everybody on the same page. So I'd ask you to lay this bill on the table, but I would like a letter, if you would, to DOLI, asking them to promulgate the regulations with regard to the crane technology that I've mentioned in my original.
Delegate Williams, I think we'll appreciate that. So Delegate Moorfield, would you like to make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move to lay the bill on the table with a letter from the chairman.
Wait, we have a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor of the motion? And, that motion is passed by a vote of 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's see. What do we have? I think we have. All right, we're going to say Bulba. Delegate Carr?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You want me to present down here or here?
You're fine right where you are.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the subcommittee. We're looking at HB 1765, which about firefighters and rehabilitative services. I would like to move the substitute, Mr. Chairman, which is a result of conversation with VACO.
Okay, do we have the substitute in front of us, Ashley? We have a motion to adopt a substitute. Second. All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? All right, the motion is, the substitute's before us.
Mr. Chairman, members of the subcommittee, what we've done is added essentially a paragraph, which I'll read that before I discuss the bill, if that's all right. Fire company means a volunteer firefighting or firefighter support organization organized pursuant to 27(8) in any county, city, or town of the Commonwealth for the purpose of extinguishing fires. Firefighter support group members shall not be included in the provisions of Title 9(1), Title 27, or Title 65.2 unless otherwise designated for inclusion by ordinance or resolution of the governing body of the applicable county, city, or town of the Commonwealth. That's the substitute, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Thank you, Delegate Carr. Does any of the members have a question for the patron?
All right, I'll go ahead and discuss the bill now.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Delegate Carr.
My bill, HB 1765, makes a minor change to the state's definition of a fire company. It adds groups that provide rehabilitative services at active emergency scenes to this definition. For context, rehabilitative services refer to practices that support first responders at active scenes. These fire companies provide food and water at emergency scenes. They bring warmed shelters to scenes in the winter and in the rain. They provide shade and cooling system for emergencies in the summer. As we know, exposure to smoke and toxic chemicals at active scenes put firefighters at increased risk for cancer. So these groups provide bathrooms and wash stations to prevent topical absorption of toxins. These services cut down on fatigue and dehydration, related deaths and injuries, as well as prevent cancer caused by exposure. In addition, these rehab services are listed as a standard by the National Fire Protection Agency in their standards for firefighting. NFPA certification is the gold standard for industry guidelines for firefighters, and many states specifically cite in code and is often referenced in court proceedings. This bill was brought to me by a rehab company in my district, the Metro Richmond Flying Squad, who are here today to speak on the bill. They are volunteer-run and consist primarily of retired first responders. If this bill is passed, they will be able to operate much more efficiently. They will be able to have permanent emergency vehicle license plates. They would be able to more easily receive financial assistance from a locality that chooses to work with them. The Metro Flying Squad has a memorandum of understanding with several localities and is eager to expand. Passage of this bill will help them and hopefully encourage other rehab companies to be formed. I know that the Metro Richmond Flying Squad is here today to speak to the bill. Hope that it will be the pleasure of the subcommittee to look favorably on HB 1765.
All right. Thank you. Does any of the members have a question for the patron? Does any folks in the audience here come to speak in favor of the bill?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Ken Clark. I'm a volunteer captain with the Metro Richmond Flying Squad. As you said, we provide services to local firefighters and other emergency responders at various scenes throughout the Commonwealth. Our particular service, we currently work in the city of Richmond, where we started 5 years ago. We responded to 20 events that year. Now we've expanded into Henrico County, Hanover County, and Goochland County, and respond to over 300 events, including one just this afternoon here in the city of Richmond at an apartment fire. The services we provide are very routinely done by other volunteer fire companies, but because the jurisdictions we serve are primarily have career firefighters already in place, they don't need a volunteer fire company that also helps extinguish fires, which is a key element of the definition of a current fire company. So Delegate Carr's bill will allow us to be recognized as an official agency, to receive some of the benefits that are in the Code of Virginia if those jurisdictions choose, as the bill states, to extend those services, those benefits to us on an individual basis. So what we're doing is we're asking, the localities still have control as to whether or not they extend the various legal, benefits to us. But again, just being allowed to be recognized really brings forth, makes us a full partner with the other responding agencies at the scene, and allows us to reach out, for instance, to some federal grants and things such as that are only available to official fire companies, even as defined this would with the code. So our real benefit is that designation. And there's also private entities that provide grants to fire departments, like firehouse subs, for instance. But we're not a fire company because we don't actually have an apparatus to go out and put out fires. But we certainly help the efforts. And I appreciate your allowing me to speak today. I also have a statement from the president of the Richmond Professional Firefighters, which is the union representing the Richmond firefighters. If I may be able to read his statement here in support of the bill. And this is from Kevin Andes, who is the president of the Richmond Professional Firefighters. That's the International Association of Firefighters Local 995. Again, his statement. We are honored to come before you today to strong support of House Bill 1765. Never before in their 163-year history has the Richmond Fire Department been blessed with such an organization staffed completely by volunteers that provide rehab and support services to my RFD brothers and sisters. For most of my 35-and-a-half-year career, the only rehab available was drinking water out of a fire hose while still inside a house we just extinguished, putting out smoldering hot spots and waiting to begin overhaul. We had no idea of the toxins or carcinogens we were being exposed to. Today, with the help of our IAFF medical research teams and our own Massey Cancer Center being a valuable resource here in Richmond, data is showing the importance of rehabilitation. Cancer is the #1 killer of firefighters. In July of 2022, the International Agency of Research on Cancer reclassified the occupation of firefighting as a Group 1 carcinogen. This new classification now puts firefighting on par with tobacco and benzene. In this year's session of the General Assembly, we are working to add 2 additional cancers to the list of 10 that are covered by Virginia's presumptive law. Expanding the language in House Bill 1765 to include companies for the purpose of rehabilitation and other support services. That particular phrasing, as she knows, has been updated, is a much-needed addition. Words will never be enough to offer the thanks and gratitude to this dedicated, passionate group of volunteers, but passage of this bill will offer and show sincere appreciation for the work they do for firefighters and public safety members and departments across the metro area. We thank Delegate Carr for understanding the need and introducing House Bill 1765. Committee members, thank you for giving us the time to speak. And again, please remain safe. Again, that was from Keith Andrews, the president.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Yes, sir.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the subcommittee. Jeremy Bennett, representing the Virginia Association of Counties. We had some initial concerns with the original draft of the bill, but I'm very thankful that the patron was willing to be patient and work with us to get some substitute language that addresses those concerns. So, from our standard, it passes the smell test. And again, thank you to the patron for being so cooperative.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Any of the members have a question for the patron? All right, Chair will entertain a motion.
To report.
Second.
To report and second. All right, members shall cast their vote on the electronic voting machine. All right. You can close the roll. The bill is reported out with a substitute vote of 7-1. Thank you, Delegate Carr. Now.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Last but not least, Delegate Boulevard.
He's a good doctor.
He could probably be a doctor.
Sounds like a really cool soft drink, doesn't it? Anyways, Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. This is House Bill 2101, and I know that we got a substitute, and I have great awe and appreciation of council for being able to put that together so quickly.
Yes. The staff here is just incredible.
They are incredible. Anyways, what it does, Mr. Chairman, if we can get that before us, but
yes.
It's identical to the language in the enactment clause. So it takes the stuff out of the code and just puts in a Section 1 bill the enactment, and I can tell what that's about.
First, I think we need to adopt the substitute. All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? All right, the substitute's before us.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. So the issue, if I could just go ahead and describe it, is that the Department of Wildlife Resources is exempt from the Administrative Processes Act. And so it's really out of necessity that traditionally DWR has had to respond relatively quickly to managing wildlife issues in Virginia. So that's kind of why they're exempt from that process. However, their mission has expanded recently, and so now they're also making regulations dealing with things like incidental takes with respect to endangered species. And so unlike before, where they would do regulations and it was within their wheelhouse, now you've got agencies like DEQ and VMRC that are actually basing their regulations and their permit decisions based on what DWR is putting together. And so a good example of what that might mean is if a water authority or a utility wants to go ahead and do a new water intake, they're going to go ahead and rely on information from DWR and those regulations. So what is really left here with the Section 1 bill is making sure that the guidance documents that DEQ and VMRC and our water authorities and utilities rely on, those are actually up on the Virginia Regulatory Town Hall website, and that they go through the same process of review that all of our other guidance documents go through. So it's not onerous. It just means that you can actually access it online. There's a 30-day comment period, and they have to justify that, hey, these are our guidance documents, and they meet the definition of guidance documents. And that way, everybody's kind of on the same page. They know where to go ahead and get these, and that's what the bill does, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Delegate Bulova. I think this time I'd like to maybe have some input from DWR.
Haven't got my calendar this year.
We can certainly fix that.
Thank you.
You just let me know how many. Ryan Brown, I'm the Director of the Department of Wildlife Resources. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And this bill is significantly narrower than the original legislation was. For the committee's information, I was looking on our website at our document list, and I think the number of documents affected by this would be in the realm of approximately 10 that our staff use in making comments to the Department of Environmental Quality and Virginia Marine Resources Commission, and the course of them making their permitting decisions. The impact of the bill would simply be with respect to those documents that are existing today, would cause some additional staff work and in terms of carrying out the provisions of the act. But as the delegate described, that's about the thrust of the bill as it stands amended before you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Question. Mr. Chairman.
All right. Let me see. The members have a question for the witness.
Mr. Chairman.
For Delegate Bulova. Delegate Wright.
Is there a financial impact?
Of the bill itself, it would simply be the staff time associated with making the publication and submission.
Okay. Is it necessary to go to appropriations is what I'm asking.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if I could answer that, we did get the fiscal impact statement, and it says there is no budget amendment necessary.
Okay. I have a question.
Delegate Williams.
Walker. But,
excuse me, Delegate Walker. It's a long
I know,
day.
we're all tired and ready to go. So, Delegate Boulevard, question for you.
Yes, sir.
Was there a companion bill or bill in the Senate that was just defeated similar to this?
So, Mr. Chairman.
What's the difference, I guess?
Right. So, yes, and so there was a bill over in the body that must not be named.
I
that
understand.
was my full bill. And what they did was they tabled that bill with a letter from the chair to do something very similar to what my Section 1 bill now does. And so we were hoping to be able to at least get something like a Section 1 bill that I think provides a little bit more specificity and parameters with respect to what we were hoping the Department of Wildlife Resources would do. So My hope is that if it comes over from the House, it's similar enough that it'll be favorably looked at.
Yep. And so I think we can say that this bill is much narrower than the Senate version.
Correct, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you,
Delegate
Delegate
Williams. Do any other members have another question? Or is there anybody in the audience who would like to speak either for or against this bill?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I'm Shannon Varner from Troutman Pepper here on behalf of Mission H2O. Delegate Bulova mentioned water supply intakes, and that's something that our members are very involved in because we are involved in water supply, municipal water suppliers, water users. And this element is very important to us to have that information available because as the DWR provides comments to DEQ, those comments are ending up in our permits, but we have not seen the guidance documents they're being based on. We haven't had an opportunity to comment on them. This just brings them out in the sunshine, lets us have a view of them, just like every other agency does, but it just hasn't occurred at DWR yet. And that's, and we appreciate your support for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Delegate Bulova, you have the last word.
Mr. Chairman, just appreciate your consideration.
Thank you. The chair will entertain a motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to report. It has been seconded. All right, the members shall cast their vote on electronic vote machine. Bill reports with substitute 8-0, and that's a lot better than Senate.
Very good. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman.
I believe that concludes our docket. All right. All right, well done. We're adjourned.